What's up, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. Today is May 2nd of 2023, and I have good news and some very alarming news to share with you today. Not surprising, but alarming. But I am a good news first type of person, so I'm going to roll into the recalls have been filed against the entire Green Charter Township board. And it is over Goshen, but it's because of the secrecy, it's because they didn't ask, and now that we know about it, they're not listening. So I'm going to jump into the details here from the Midwesterner, and then we're going to get into what exactly how the process of recall works, because I myself have no idea, and it's good to be informed about these sorts of things. Recalls filed against the entire board. Supervisor James Chapman, clerk, treasurer, 4 trustees face ouster over unrelenting support for Goshen. All 7 members of the Green Charter Township elected leadership are facing recalls after language was filed with Mecosta County Clerk Marcy Purcell Friday afternoon. Residents are seeking to remove Trustee James Peak because Peak voted yes to approve a resolution adopted by the Township Board of the Township at a meeting held on the 13th day of December 2020 titled Charter Township of Greene County of Mecosta Resolution Number 01122022, a resolution to support Goshen Inc. and they're bringing their industrial project to Greene Charter Township. Wow, all the way back December of 2020. Amazing. Identical language was filed against trustees Gary Todd, Dale Jernstadt, Roger Carroll, as well as clerk Janet Clark and treasurer Denise McFarland. Organizers submitted new language against Supervisor James Chapman because the supervisor's attorney objected to the meeting being described as special. Chapman's petition language now matches the others. The county is required to hold a clarity hearing within 20 business days to review the language of the recall petition for accuracy. If it is approved, organizers will be able to collect signatures to force a recall vote on the elected officials. The recall attempts come as residents are increasingly opposing the group's collective attempt to bring Goshen High Tech, a Chinese battery maker, to the community with $715 million in state taxpayer cash and tax incentives. Chapman's behavior during the secretive process, along with that of trustee Dale Jernstadt, has roiled the community. When an attendee attempted to ask questions before a recent hasty arrangement meeting, Chapman snapped. I will play this really quick. It's very quick.
Quick question.
No questions from the floor. Sir, if you are disorderly, the door is that way. I explained that last month. Okay, there is a time for public comments, and that will be when it will be available for folks to speak. Okay? All right.
So, he's getting what's coming to him with these recalls. So I'm excited that this has finally gone through. It's obviously the jargon has to be exact, and again, we're going to go through right now the Michigan Bureau of Elections, Chapter 18, July 2021. So this is official. Recall process. All elective officers in the state, except judicial officers, are subject to recall by the voters of their districts. An officer who is being recalled may continue to perform the duties of his or her office until the result of the recall election is certified. When a recall petition is filed against a local clerk or any other local public official responsible for handling duties associated with the administration of the recall election, the Michigan election law directs the county clerk to appoint some other impartial public officer having knowledge of the election laws involved to perform the duties. The Michigan election law further provides that a public officer appointed to handle the election, election-related duties of a public official subject to recall shall receive no additional compensation for his services. Okay, so they don't get paid anymore. The Michigan election law states that a recall petition shall not be filed against an official during the first 6 months or last 6 months of the officer's term. Okay, so it's been filed. so that must not apply. Clarity. The Michigan election law requires the Board of State Canvassers for state and county level offices, except for county commissioners, or county election commission, to review the language of a recall petition to determine it is factual and of sufficient clarity before the petition is circulated. Makes sense, and that obviously happened. Thus, a clarity factual review is the starting point of each and every recall effort launched in Michigan. Wow. What is going on? There we go. Sorry, having a little bit of lag or something with this document. Filings and submission barred during certain time periods. Okay, petition submission for clarity factual hearing. Recall petition language cannot be submitted to the Board of State Canvassers or Board of County Election Commissioners for clarity factual review during the first and last 6 months of the official's term of office. Sponsors of a recall effort submit the petition language to the Board of State Canvassers for state and county level offices, except county commissioner, or the county election commission established in the county where the officer resides for all other offices. The county election commission is composed of the county clerk, county treasurer, and chief judge of probate. The reasons must appear on a recall petition form. The individual submitting the recall language must be registered to vote in the electoral district represented by the officer. A separate submission must be made for each officer whose recall is sought, which was done. Recall petitions filed at the county level. The commission member accepting the petition language issues a receipt to the filer of the language. The receipt shows the date of the filing and the filer's name, address, and phone number. The commission member retains a copy of the receipt of the commission's records. Good to know. Notification requirements and scheduling of meeting. Within 3 business days after a member of the County Election Commission receives a recall petition from a filer, not a flyer, the commission must notify the officer whose recall is sought of the filing of the petition language and the date of the filing, the contents of the petition language, and the time, date, and place of the commission's meeting to review the language for clarity and factuality. Official notice of the time, date, and place of the commission's meeting is also sent to the filer of the language. Notices may be sent by first-class mail. Okay, email notices are recommended if the filing official has an email address of the officer whose recall is sought and the filer. The commission is required to meet sometime between the 10th and 20th calendar, not business day, after the filing of recall language to conduct the review. Notice of the scheduled meeting must be posted at least 18 hours in advance of the meeting to comply with Open Meetings Act. Okay. Conduct of meeting. When the required meeting is held, the function of the commission is to determine whether each reason for the recall stated in the petition is factual and of sufficient clarity to enable the officer whose recall is sought and the electors to identify the course of conduct that is the basis for the recall. That's just a fancy freaking government way of saying, what did they do? Why are they being recalled? The officer whose recall is sought and the sponsors of the petition may appear at the meeting and present arguments on the clarity and factual nature of the petition language. So that's good to know. They can basically argue their case at this meeting. The Michigan election law states that each reason for the recall shall be based upon the officer's conduct during his or her current term in office. Makes sense, not before or after. I don't know why after. Not before they became a public figure. The commission does not have the authority to rule on whether the petition includes good reasons for recall, as only the clarity and the factual nature of the recall language is subject to commission's review. The Michigan election law states that if any reason for the recall is not factual or of sufficient clarity, the entire recall petition shall be rejected. After the meeting, the members of the commission must provide a copy of their determination on the clarity and factual nature of the recall language to the filer of the language and the officer whose recall is sought. If the commission approves the recall language, A copy of the approved language must be forwarded to the filing official, who will later receive the signed recall petition sheets. Failure of the Commission to hold the required review meeting by the 20th day after the submission of the recall petition constitutes a determination that the language is sufficiently clear and factual. The Commission may not use this provision to avoid its responsibility to hold a clarity factual review. And then there's an appeal process. So, again, I think it's important to know exactly what the heck is going on with a recall. I've never been involved in any politics at all. And so knowledge is the first, key to the door, basically. The Commission's ruling on the clarity and factual nature of the recall language may be appealed, either by the officer whose recall is sought, or by the sponsors of the recall petition, to the circuit court in the county where the clarity factual determination was made. The appeal must be filed within 10 days after the Commission's determination. If a determination by a Commission is appealed, either by the officer whose recall is sought, so they can appeal it for whatever reason. And by the way, $220 an hour is what I heard that the Green Township lawyer makes. $220 an hour, and I'm pretty sure that they don't pay for it out of their pocket. That's county money, right? You correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, because I didn't do the research to follow the money exactly, but to me it makes sense that they have a lawyer, and that lawyer is paid for by the taxpayer, not by they themselves. So, $220 an hour. That's a really good lawyer. Or it's a government lawyer. If a determination by the Commission is appealed, the recall petition is not valid for circulation and shall not be circulated until a determination of whether each reason is clear and factual is made by the circuit court, or until 40 days after the date of appeal, whichever is sooner. A petition is not valid for circulation if at any time a circuit court determines that each reason on the recall petition is not sufficiently clear and factual. This is basically telling me it could take a little while, which again shouldn't be surprising since it's government and it takes forever to do anything because of bureaucracy. If the Commission fails to meet the review, if the Commission fails to review the clarity and factuality of the language by the 20th day after the filing of the language, an appeal may be filed on the 21st day through the 30th day after the filing of the language. A recall petition is valid for 180 days after either of the following, whichever occurs later: clarity factual approval of the Commission, clarity factuality approval by the circuit court, or 40 days after the date of appeal. As soon as the County Election Commission approves a petition for clarity factuality and any appeal to circuit court has concluded, or 40 days have elapsed, the petition sponsors are free to circulate their petition. So, 40 days, but then that's after 10 days, or 10 to 20 days, so it could take up to 60 days, 2 months. That's what I'm getting from it. That's if they appeal. The petition form, recall petitions, must conform to the specifications prescribed by the Secretary of State. By the way, thank you guys for joining me. If you like this kind of content, smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I will be discussing, once this is done, the Agriculture Department launches investigation into Lori Brock, the horse farm owner, critical of the Goshen plant. So that's coming up. That is what the thumbnail is all about, because obviously it's going after Lori Brock is injustice, but we'll get into that. I'm going to finish this up. There are 2 types of recall petition forms approved for use. One form is designed for the recall of the state, city, township, and school officers. The other form is designed for the recall of village officers. The county clerk is required to supply blank recall petition forms upon request. A separate petition must be circulated for each officer who is being recalled. The reason for the recall printed on the recall petition must be the reasons approved by the County Election Commission. Circulation of recall petitions. Recall petitions are circulated within the district represented by the officer whose recall is sought. So, Green Charter Township, when this finally does get circulated, you will hopefully have a chance to sign it if you wish. You don't have to sign, of course, but if you disapprove of the secrecy and the lack of listening to the constituents, then you might consider signing the petition. Circulations of recall petitions must be at least 18 years of age and a citizen of the United States. A circulator of a recall petition does not have to be registered to vote. Before a recall petition can be circulated, the circulator must complete the heading of each petition sheet by filing in the county and city or township where the sheet will be circulated, or the village where the sheet will be circulated. The sheet may not be circulated outside of the county, city, township, or village specified in the heading. Note: recall petitions must not be circulated on a county-wide basis. The circulator must also include in the heading the name of the officer whose recall is sought, the title of the office, and the office district if appropriate. A circulator must not leave a recall petition unattended in a public place. All signatures must be signed in the presence of a circulator. The circulator must complete and date the circulator's certificate on the petition sheet after gathering the last signature he or she intends to collect. Signatures on a sheet which are dated after the date of the circulator's certificate are not counted. Signers of recall petitions must be registered to vote in the electoral district of the official whose recall is sought. Each signer, which, by the way, I'm gonna admit something. I didn't register to vote, but they gave me a registration card anyway. I don't know if that happened to you. That was 2021, and that was weird. Signers of recall petitions must be registered to vote. Okay. Each signer must list his or her signature, address, zip code, and the date of signing. If the recall petition is circulated within a city or school district that crosses county lines, each signer must be instructed to execute his or her signature on a petition sheet bearing the name of his or her county of residence. Oh. For a school board member, something like, I don't know if Morley Stanwood is in between. That's neither here nor there. All signatures must be signed in the presence of the circulator. A signer is not permitted to sign for anyone else. For example, an individual may not sign for his or her spouse. Number of signatures required. The number of signatures needed to trigger a recall election is 25% of the votes cast in the officer's district for all candidates for the office of governor in the last gubernatorial election. Upon written request, the county clerk is required to supply the minimum number of valid signatures needed on the petition. The figure must be calculated and delivered to the requester within 5 days after the county clerk's receipt of the request. All right. Well, I think that I will leave the link to this down below and you can go over the rest. That will bring us all the way to signing it. Acceptance of recall petition. Maybe I'll even go over it once we get closer, but since we have 2 months potentially 2 months until we can actually circulate the petition, I'm going to go to this alarming story that just came out yesterday. Green Charter Township resident Lori Brock is concerned about what a 3 million square foot Chinese battery plant may do to her neighboring pristine horse farm. She has sought a state environmental study, how dare she, of the project, which will create battery components for electric vehicle batteries. According to Goshen High Tech, the Chinese Communist Party-linked company looking to move to the middle of the state with the assistance of $715 million in taxpayer money and incentives. But instead of Goshen, it's Brock, who is now under investigation, a development that comes just days after she hosted a rally on her property in opposition to the project. How do you like that? Government being weaponized against the people. Again, not surprising, but it is alarming. I have 20 horses on a 150-acre farm, Brock told the Midwesterner Monday, and said the department is alleging the horses seem to be contaminating the property, which is ridiculous. Of course, I would like to know exactly what they are going after her for. What are they investigating her for? Brock built a farm 13 years ago in an area that has been zoned agriculture forever. This is just harassment. She's damn right. She said, noting she's never had any issues before. Brock hosted hundreds of people at the horse farm April 22nd to rally against Goshen and those who are ignoring the community and working for it to become a reality. Because that's exactly what they're doing. They're ignoring us. Or worse, calling us names and such. On May 1st, Brock was notified the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development would be visiting her property to investigate later this week after a complaint was filed with the agency. So, this week, she's going to be investigated. She was told the week that she was going to be investigated. That seems really, really unjust, I guess we could say. For 20 horses on 150 acres, there's no way I'm in violation of anything, Brock told the Midwesterner. She said to the department agent who called to schedule the inspection. Brock said she will not be intimidated by the state agency. Not in the least. It just pisses me off, she said. It is not yet clear who will conduct the investigation of Brock's property. A member of the Farmland and Open Space Preservation Program staff is Jared Thelen. Another Thelen. An inquiry into the agency about whether he is related to Chuck Thelen, a vice president of CCP Goshen, or Randy Thelen, CEO of The Right Place, an economic development agency pushing for the project, was not immediately returned. Thelen was the government agent who signed an agreement with Green Charter Township trustee Dale Jernstadt to release his farmland development rights to the state in 2021. He is now attempting to sell that property to Goshen to be included in the massive development. So yeah, our taxpayer dollars are going to be going to Jernstadt to buy his property. So I thought that it would be interesting to learn about the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development and give you some numbers that you can call and a meeting that's coming up. So real quick, Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development is comprised of 6 divisions that use a customer-driven, solution-oriented approach to cultivate and expand new economic opportunities for the food and agriculture sector, safeguard the public's food, inspect and enforce sound animal health practices, control and eradicate plant pests and diseases threatening the $104.7 billion in food and agriculture system. I wonder if that's what they're going after. Enforce sound animal health practices. Preserve the environment by which the farming community makes their living and feeds consumers, and protect consumers by enforcing laws relating to weights and measures. So yeah, how are they protecting us? How are they helping us with this investigation? Contact us. File a complaint. So here is the main phone number, 1-800-292-3939. There's an email here, mda-info@michigan.gov. Now, I don't know if filing a complaint is exactly what we should be doing, because, again, I'm new to all this stuff. However, I think that's what happened to Lori Brock. This Department of Agriculture and Rural Development used this form to let MDARD know of a problem that you feel needs investigation. Based on the nature and details of your complaint, MDARD will either respond to or refer your complaint to the appropriate agency. So it sounds like they are responding themselves. They didn't refer to anybody else. Your complaint information is very important for appropriate follow-up, including enforcement. Please be as detailed as possible about the nature of your complaint. Your contact information is necessary for us to conduct a complete investigation. If you wish to remain anonymous, please do not submit any contact information. Please note, right to farm complaints cannot be anonymous. You must, however, provide sufficient complaint detail for us to follow up on. Failure to do so will impact our ability to respond. If you have an animal welfare complaint involving a pet store or livestock animals, you are advised to contact a local police or animal control where the facility is located. So, they didn't do that, so I guess that's not what the complaint is about. Of course, I'm just digging in trying to find out what's going on, because I don't know. The Michigan Department, the organization details the director is Dr. Tim Boring, and so this is his contact information. You might want to contact him and cordially let him know that you don't appreciate the government investigating this individual. It seems very suspicious, and that they should perhaps investigate Goshen instead. They should figure out if Goshen destroying all those wetlands is a good idea. I mean, so again, I don't know the verbiage that we should be using, but I'm giving you the information that you can contact these people that are in the government that should listen to what we have. They should listen to what we have to say. Whether they do or not, that's another story. So the Michigan Commission of Agriculture and Rural Development has a responsibility to recommend, and in some cases determine, policy on food, agriculture, and rural development. State law dictates that no more than 3 commission members may be from the same political party. The commission is a bipartisan body of 5 citizens appointed by the governor. Death by boards, committees, and commissioners. Appointed by Governor Whitmer. The commission holds monthly meetings, with the exception of May and October, or as it deems necessary, and meetings are open to the public. Of course, there's none in May. So we go to this, and for some reason it says there's one in May 17th. So at 9 a.m. Let's keep an eye on that. There's a phone number here, dial by phone for the conference. So again, I'll leave the links to these down in the description, but you might want to attend this meeting virtually and let them know what you think about their investigating practices. Michigan Commission of Agricultural Development, it's the same one, sorry, this one. This is not the same exact commission, but one that's related, and this May 8th of 2023, 1 to 3:30. Might want to go in and let them know how you feel about the resources being used against we the people, rather than against big corporations owned by foreign companies that are trying to come buy our land. I looked into the agriculture right here, Michigan Commission of Agriculture and Rural Development Commission members. This is the president, and I just thought it was interesting. You could, of course, talk to him as well. This is, or the director maybe is the proper word, not president. I'm sorry, I can't keep up with the commissions and councils and boards and all this different terminology. But he was appointed, of course, by Governor Gretchen Whitmer in 2021. And he went to DePaul University, graduating in 2013. And with a double major in environmental studies and political science. So these people might be sympathetic to us, or they might not be. If you look at the environmental studies program, it offers a standard concentration, which studies the interdependency among physical, biological, economic, and social systems, and a sustainability concentration. The sustainability concentration also offers an urban sustainability focus. So sustainability was what he went to school for, and if you don't remember, where is it? Right here. United Nations Decade of Education for Sustainable Development was 2005 to 2014. So he was directly impacted by the United Nations push to educate sustainable development. So that's who is leading this commission. If you go to commission members, you can see down here, he's the chair. That's what it is. And then there's vice chair. Also got an education at the University of Michigan. And it says right here, the Master of Science and Natural Resources from the University of Michigan, appointed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, January of 2022. And this was her field. I don't know when she graduated, but behavior education and communication, environmental justice, environmental policy and planning, ecosystem science management, conservation, sustainability and development, sustainable systems. And Michigan has, I mean, it's definitely in the sustainable development world. Sustainable future. The University of Michigan is one of the big colleges that educate people on sustainable development. So I'm just giving you a little bit of background. These people are human beings, and you should talk to them cordially, and you should share your concerns in a professional manner. But just understand where they're coming from and where their education is, and that is sustainable development. And so we don't really know how they're going to respond to our discontent, I guess you could say. I wanted to share my thoughts on Lori Brock. Obviously, we, the people, stand with you. It's not right, again, that our government is using our resources and our tax dollars to investigate somebody. Investigate somebody just because they're against Goshen and they held a rally. I mean, it's just harassment. And you come here, Anna Hoffman said it really well, in Gretchen Whitmer's Michigan, when you speak out against the sale of land to the Communist Party of China, you get retaliated against. Persecution and weaponization of government is the reality. Now, Democrats and Republicans are tyrannical in their own way, and not all of them, but obviously right now we're in a democratic tyranny. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Democratic tyranny, no. We have a blue tyranny instead of a red tyranny here in Michigan. That's all I'm trying to say. And I don't know what else you could say except for we need to be aware that the government is using our resources against us. And there's only two ways that I know how to fight this. One is what we're doing is recalling and spreading awareness. That's the biggest step. But the second one would be, everybody says follow the money. So if they're using this money poorly, if they're using it against us, if they're using it for things that we don't agree with, taxation without representation, our forefathers were very clear on what they thought of that. And so just something to think about. Why do we keep giving them our money when they use it against us? Marshall City Council rezones land for Ford's electric vehicle battery. Of course, it's because too much money has been put into it already. This came out yesterday. Unfortunately, the Marshall City Council gives the go-ahead for the new factory that is expected to create thousands of new jobs. Of the first paragraph, they just tell you what News Channel 3 is all about. It's promoting the government agenda. Early Tuesday morning, the council voted to rezone the land. The marathon meeting lasted for hours, with lots of people coming out to speak, both for and against the project. I wonder, though, why doesn't it tell me how many were for and how many were against? Not a lot of information. Channel 3. Last week, a joint planning commission made of representatives from Marshall Township and the city of Marshall voted against rezoning the land for industrial use. Again, it ain't over till it's over. Obviously, it's a disappointment, but every day more people are becoming aware of the fact that the government does whatever the hell it wants, and it doesn't care about what you have to say, even though you are supposed to be in charge of it. And I know Glenn Beck went viral recently. He said it best, we expose over and over corruption and nothing happens. But I have faith that that will change. I think that it just takes the collective unconscious to get to a certain awareness for it to flip on its head. And I think that we're on our way. I have faith that the good guy wins in the end. and that we can stop these terrible projects from taking over our land, that we should be growing food, because food will be an issue, and I hate to say that, but there's a war on our food, and we need to be able to grow it. And if we don't have any farmland because solar panels, wind turbines, and battery plants have taken over all of our farmland, well then, what the hell are we going to do, guys? What are we going to do? The last thing I wanted to share is this editorial, Keep NDAs Out of Government, November 2nd, 2022. A recent document dive by Bridge, Michigan, showed Michigan's Office of the Attorney General required Dana Nessel's personal state secretary detail to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Its subsequent revocation came as part of a union dispute about changing the terms of the contract, not as a matter of principled public interest, but it illuminates a shadowy trend in patronizing the public, if not dismissing it outright. It's exactly what they do. Just dismiss us outright. Doesn't it feel like that? Doesn't matter though. Strengthen numbers, keep spreading awareness, and do it with love as much as you can. I understand anger, but optics is extremely important. Martin Luther King Jr. knew that. Gandhi knew that. We need to follow, Jesus knew that. We need to follow in the Prince of Peace's footsteps and try to lovingly spread awareness, even though we're angry, okay? NDAs are legally binding contracts to establish confidential relationships, full stop. These, especially in government security details with private contractors, we're paying for their security, which is so funny that they want guns, but they don't want us to have guns, seem to be used more prevalently now, former Detroit Police Chief Ralph Goodby told Bridge. Security contracts are paid by dollars, Nestle's potentially to the tune of $28,560 per week. Tax dollars, paid by tax dollars. Security contracts are paid by tax dollars. $28,560 per week. This money pales in comparison to other situations where NDA use and public funds has popped up. Government subsidies for corporate development. Sound familiar? In January, the Detroit Free Press reported that 13 Michigan lawmakers and Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed NDAs with the MEDC to keep mum on 4 manufacturing deals tied to $1 billion in state subsidies. When lawmakers voted through the subsidies, they had no idea which companies they were supporting. Whitmer also used NDAs as a reason not to discuss the abrupt departure of 2 of her appointed department heads, who received $241,000 in combined severance. Her reasoning was that private companies use NDAs all the time. Oh, because of those private-public partnerships, she's learning a thing or two, from the World Economic Forum. But would these private companies survive if the leadership, shareholders, bankrollers, and investors made decisions based on no information? Yeah, but that's the thing. Government doesn't have to be frugal. Doesn't have to be like that. Where no one had even a basic profit and loss statement to show money spent against earnings. Because they steal money, they don't make money. Government can't make money. So they have no incentive to be frugal. That's what's happening in our government, paid by for the people who choose its leaders. We also are its shareholders, bankrollers, and investors. NDAs have no place in public business. They diametrically oppose our foundation of checks and balances, maintained by an informed voting public. Exactly. But they don't want us informed, do they? Our county is built on the people's right to know. You, the taxpayer, might want to weigh in before a certain company comes to your neighborhood. You might want to know about potential misconduct at the top levels of government before voting. You may even want to have enough information to debunk outlandish claims made by one side or the other. That's why, come election time, transparency is a bipartisan buzzword that all candidates claim to want in government. Whitmer did it. She said she wanted transparency, but she's the most non-transparent governor that I've ever experienced, but I'm not that old, so. Michigan Daffodil says money seems to close ears, eyes, and mouths. Yes, wasn't it the Bible that said it's the root of all evil? I have not read the Bible, I just started. It's the classic of classics, whatever you want to say about it. I'm not saying it's the religion of the world or anything like that, but it's beautiful, and what I have read. And again, it's the classic of classics. Everything is compared against it because the language is precise. Anyway, I completely agree with you, Daffodil. Money has corrupted. But a Michigan bill and power corrupts too. But money and power are synonymous right now in this day and age. But a Michigan bill that would ban units of government, public officials, or those acting on their behalf from signing NDAs lingers in inaction after its introduction in March. As we know from recent Amazon cutbacks and delays in its Michigan plans, giveaways come at a greater cost than sunny NDA-protected promises would show. Those who are threatened in office, like Nessel, should of course be protected, but not in secrecy. Public sector hirings and firings, contracts, misconduct, and severance is imperative to accountability. NDAs are falling into disfavor in private industry too, as standing on the wrong side of history. Protecting bad actors from possible criminal and civil liabilities at the expense of free speech. Of course, those using NDAs might be great people and businesses, focused squarely on the public interest. They may have nothing to hide and may not be playing manipulative PR games with public money. But we, the public, are not allowed to know. Thought that was a wonderful article. Don't know who wrote it, but recordeagle.com. I'm for transparency. I'm for informed consent. And we don't have that here in Michigan. And it's extremely disappointing, to say the least. I came back to Michigan in 2019, hoping that Michigan would be a great state to live in. And unfortunately, I find that centralized power has its eye on Michigan. So I'm going to keep calling it out. If you are interested in that sort of information, please consider subscribing. Tomorrow I want to do a story on Ferris State University. There's a lot going on there that I think we need to know about. And I also have another video planned for this week on Grand Rapids, Michigan, because they're updating their master plan. And you won't believe, or maybe you will believe, what they have planned for Grand Rapids. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I hope that you learned something new. I will leave all the links in the description down below. And again, I hope that we can do something to help Lori Brock fight the government, because it's not right what they're doing. Michigan Daffodil says the Bible doesn't say that directly. It does say, for the love of money is a root to all kinds of evil. Thank you. 1 Timothy 6:10. Thank you very much. I need to know better before I quote it at all, but I appreciate the info. Again, thank you for hanging out, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow when I talk about Ferris State University and the new hire and NSA and all that. Don't forget, help Lori Brock. Have a good one, guys.